Hi guys, this is Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist. I'm just back from Salt Lake City where I went to the expo, SelfReliance Expo over there in the last couple of days. It was a great time, and it was so nice to meet all the people that maybe I've known many of them for the past couple of years through the internet, but never actually had the chance to meet them face to face. So I mean, it was great meeting all of them. Jeff, the guy from Berkey Water Filters, Directive 21, which is one of the sponsors. The guys from Forge is Survival. Let me get that right. Yeah, Forge Survivalsupply.com. They have lots of stuff as well. SelfReliance. I mean, the guys from Backwoods Home Magazine. It was so nice to meet all of you. There's a lot of people I'm leaving out, but I mean, just want to say that it was a great opportunity, good times. Got to meet some of the readers as well. John, you and your family, so nice, great people. Just want to say that, and I appreciate so much all the support I get from all you folks. So that being said, I want to show you also a very cool magazine actually that I got a chance to see over there at the expo. It's Survivalist. Survive Without Fear, which I think is pretty cool because they're not afraid of saying actually the word survivalist, which usually has like a negative connotation to it. People think that survivalists are all nutcases, but I mean, I haven't found a word yet that includes all those beliefs I believe myself. And using another word, survivalist, it's still like a person that has a certain mindset and deals with troubles that life in general has better than the ordinary guy. And preppers sometimes have preppers like more politically correct, but at the same time sometimes there's lots of folks that consider them preppers which only just have some stuff, some supplies, but don't make much changes in their lifestyle and their mentality. So it's nice that see a magazine that actually says survivalist, survive without fear, which makes lots of great sense. The website is www.survivalist.com, and I just saw this issue. It has the mention of SelfReliance Expo, and I like the topics of it. It was a good selection of topics. Here's the expo, the way it was set up. There's me, which I was a keynote speaker for the expo. There's the nurse, I think it's, I don't want to get this wrong, I think it's Nurse Amy and Dr. Bones. And this is Jack Spirko, Jack Spirko, which has a survival podcast. Great guy. He and his wife, we were going on the same direction to the airport when we were going back, so they gave me a ride as well. Such a nice guy to be around with. We went eating on both days. It was a great opportunity to meet all these fine people, like-minded individuals. So the magazine, as I said before, has it's actually like that a lot. It has like a good variety of topics, which are good ones, not things that you don't have any need for. So it all makes lots of sense. Just browsing a bit, showing it before. Honeyville Farms, this lady, she was so nice as well. She had read my book actually, and she said she liked it a lot. So just so nice meeting all these people. So well, the magazine is very good, and SelfReliance Expo, yeah, it was a great time. Thanks Ron and Scott for inviting me over. I really appreciate the opportunity to be there. So almost 4 minutes went by with just the introductions. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I think people that went on to the expo, and those of you that didn't as well, will like a lot. I'm gonna be talking about how do homesteads and farms get attacked. How does it go down when these attacks occur? There's already a good number of them happening in USA. Mostly are not well organized. They are just opportunistic. Attacks to homesteads and farms go down in different ways. There's not one single way that covers it all. So it may vary a lot. Just what lots of people tell me, for example, is that someone drives by, knocks on the door, or honks the horn on their truck, on their vehicle, asks for directions, and what they're actually looking is to see if there's someone there or not. You know, you just see this vehicle approaching, you happen to see them, you come out, they ask for some silly questions, some directions maybe, if they're a bit smarter, and they're actually doing just that. They're actually testing if you're home or not. You can imagine that if you're not home, next thing that happens is that they break in, and with all the time in the world, they just go through all your stuff, stealing whatever it is they like. What gets stolen the most? Guns, cash, gold, jewelry, and drugs. Fancier electronics as well, big screen TVs if they have a truck on the time. Mostly it's money, guns, drugs, and precious metals. That's what criminals usually go for. I'm not familiar with many cases where they just piled up, you know, your supply of food. Eventually it may happen, but just keep that in mind so as to know what valuables these sort of criminals go for. Now, that's the easiest, most laziest type of attack. There are other types of attacks that take place, and we've seen many of them here as well. When you know there's a homestead or a farm that is actually better prepared than this, just that we already know over here that a house being empty I mean, you might as well just open the door, put a "please rob me" sign, and just get over it. So we already understand that a house that is left empty in the country it's just waiting for it to happen. We don't do that anymore here. People that have a farm or that have a house in the country in a more isolated location, they usually either make sure there's always someone there, or actually have a secondary house where they have a housekeeper that is staying there at all times. And I wanted to show you guys how some of those occasions, how those crimes may go by. So we already mentioned that the most simple type, where they just see if you're home or not. But what happens with the more evolved type, the more advanced type of what we call here Commando Strikes, where there's a group of criminals, well organized, occasionally well trained as well, and they expect you to be there, they expect you to maybe even put up a fight. So how do they organize? Well, let's suppose you have a main road here, right? And you have a secondary road over here. You know, this may be a couple of miles or more, but you basically get the idea. It's the main road and a secondary road, and there's the land where your house sits, right? Maybe have other buildings as well. Okay, the one I'm going to be mentioning is the last incident I know of from a good friend of mine. I'm not going to be giving any specific locations because he's a friend of mine. He deserves my silence regarding some of the things that happened. So I'm just going to be giving the general way it went down, not giving any specifics because of security reasons, right? All you guys have to know is that his property is at least a couple hours away from Buenos Aires, so it's not close by a long shot. You have to get there's a main avenue around here, you know. There's a main avenue, there's a main highway, sorry. Then there's a secondary road which has very little traffic. This would be the secondary road. This would be the primary one. The secondary road, which you have to go for miles and miles until you reach a very small community, farming community, and then there's a dirt road, which would be this one, this third one. This dirt road is so bad that you actually need a 4x4 to get through it. If not, you cannot get to it. And it goes for several miles as well, this one. So we're talking about something that is clearly not only out of sight, it's actually impossible to know of this place if you haven't seen it before, if you don't know where to look for. This is what you guys would consider an ideal location, okay? It's very hard to get to. It's way out there in the country and impossible to know if you haven't heard about it before. And it's clearly difficult to get to it. I've gone to it myself and I know how hard. With rain, if it had rained recently, this road even with a 4x4 vehicle, it's hard to get to. When it's dry, without a 4x4 vehicle, it's several miles of mud road, not even dirt road, because I won't even call it a road. It's very hard to get to. So basically you have a main house, then you have like this isn't, again, this is not the exact layout or anything, because I don't want to compromise my friend in any other way. There's other buildings, there's workshops and all that stuff, and there's a couple of houses. Let's put one here and one over here, where they have families living here as well. So it's the main house for him and his family, which would be the one with the gardens, all that stuff. There's trees as well, in different places, and then you have the cattle. You have some farmland, which is it's working land. It's actually a working farm with a good amount of people working there on daily basis, and there's at least a couple of families living there at all times. These are all folks that know guns, they have guns, and I suppose you would consider them well prepared in that regard. They didn't, they weren't people that didn't expect something like this to happen one day. So they were prepared, they had the firearms, and it still happened. What obviously happened is that they checked out the place for some time. What he believes, and according to the police reports after that, after talking to the police officers and the following investigation, he made sure there was actually an investigation, and this just didn't disappear. What is believed is that they worked intelligence on the place. They kept an eye on the place for at least a couple of weeks, maybe a month, checking the schedule and see how it went by, what people did. They didn't come from the main road or this other road either, which sometimes occurred. They came from here, right? So they actually, they actually separated their operation. They probably had someone. It's expected that they had someone around here or closer, and they divided and went around them. This is a very big place, at least 200 acres. So yeah, I mean, you're talking about at the very least 200 acres. So it's a big place. Again, I don't want to be very specific with all this stuff, but specific enough so that this information is useful for you. So you can see how most of the activity was going around in this area. There was sporadic people around here as well, with the cattle, with the farmland. There's trucks going in and out eventually, a couple of times a day as well. So a good amount of people. In the afternoon, this group attacked, right? They moved forward. They had dogs as well. What they did in this case with the dogs, they shot them with BB guns, BBs, the pellet guns, right? With air rifles. The dogs, when shot, they yelp. The other dogs recognize that as a sign of pain, of something unwanted. So after shooting several of them a few times, they just took off. The dogs took off. Okay, maybe you have this huge amount of dogs. You have 20 dogs that are trained assassins, and you think this isn't something that would ever happen to you. That may as well be. Another friend of mine that suffered an attack in his farm. They just poisoned the dogs in their food supply. They poisoned their food supply, or they maybe used poisoned pieces of hot dogs and they fed them to them the day before. Eventually, I mean, one way or another, they deal with the dogs first. So in this case, it seems they use these air rifles to send the dogs away. In my other friend's incident, they just poisoned the dogs and killed them all. They killed like I don't remember the exact number. I don't know. I think it was like 6 dogs that they killed with poison. So if you have dogs and you actually train them for protection and you make sure you feed them in a specific spot you have covered, and they are trained to only be fed by you. In most cases, folks, that's not the typical farm dog. The farm dog will eat pretty much anything any food he finds around, but just something else to keep in mind: if they are trained well, they should be eating only from one spot and one spot alone, and from you only, so that they don't get poisoned easily. And they should have a certain type of character, a certain type of dog that will not run when hit with BBs or air rifles or feeling pain in some way. So, you know, just things to keep in mind. After dealing with the dogs, they advanced to the first building where the first family was living. They took them hostage, and with them moved to the other one, the second house where there was people living in it. And with that, they moved with all these hostages to the main building. They stole vehicles, firearms, went through everything thoroughly, so they made sure they picked the place pretty clean. Basically, that's how it went down. So folks, if you have a farm or a homestead and you don't have 24/7 security, and security, you are not nearly as safe as you think you are. At least, you know, I'm not saying that this is what you should be doing. I mean, just be honest about it. I doubt many have 24/7 security on any place. Okay, I doubt anyone has even someone standing guard all day in the main road, let alone covering the flanks as well and your back as well. This is what you need if you really have a security problem in your area, or if you really want to be prepared for an organized attack. You know, this was an organized attack, but you know, they weren't like MIT, you know, brain surgeon type of genius. These were just simple criminals that organize a bit better than the average bad guy that isn't very proficient. So just a bit of organization, a bit of intelligence. If someone comes around here and uses scopes to check your place every now and then and gathers enough intelligence, there's nothing you can do about this guy. I mean, you're not going to be even seeing him. In the average homestead of US, it's so easy to just drive by without even trespassing, just keeping an eye on the place, you know? You may see strange movements, but what are you going to be doing? You know, calling the police on someone that you don't like using a public road? Just a pair of binoculars, that's all there's needed. Just being on the public place and keeping an eye on it and seeing the activity of who comes back and forth. Homesteads, farms, if you're thinking of your own house, your own homestead, and there's you, there's the wife, let's put a little skirt there, there's the kids, there's maybe a teenager. I'm not going to be going for you. I mean, you're probably a very proficient guy with firearms, you're probably carrying concealed. I'll just wait until this guy starts riding his bike back and forth, you know, or this little guy gets distracted and you get a hostage. And once you have the hostage, it's just so easy to go to the main place and take care of it. So, I mean, this all sounds very paranoid, but I mean, it actually happens. So it's just I'm trying to keep it real and be honest about the kind of security most people have, which is none at all. I mean, most houses, especially in US, they don't have burglar bars. They have doors that can be simply kicked down. I mean, if you just want to go and work as a criminal in US, you only have to look for a nice place, walk to the main door, kick it down, and you're in. What's your reaction time? How long does it take you to get your firearm and be able to react and repel that attack? Right? It only takes a couple of seconds to kick this main door down, guys. You know, the typical door, my God, I mean, you guys even have glass on your doors. That's something unseen around here. Okay, you have all this glass here, and the door, just placing a kick here makes everything go down. It opens it wide up. Just a kick where there's the doorknob thing and the lock. You just kick that, and the door doesn't even break. You break the wooden frame. That's it. You're inside. Just a couple of seconds. Burglar bars, you know, just a stone through the window, and you're inside as well. How long does it take you to get your firearm? That's something you should ask yourself. Be honest about this, about how easily someone can go in, and be honest about how easily someone can access you and how much time you need to react to it. So folks, I hope this gives you a good idea of how safe or unsafe your place is if you ever see serious crime going on in your part of the world. I hope you enjoyed it, and this gives you a few more ideas of what may happen if things actually get worse, which in many places are. In many places there's already crime going in these places where people, they tell you with the most surprised look, and you see it in their face. I talk with lots of folks right now when I went to US, so I know what I'm talking about. It's happening in those places where it didn't happen before. Just keep all this in mind and be as well prepared as possible, okay? Take care guys, and see you on our next video.